All right, skitash visichamwi, ani anap chigay Jonathan Curry, sapantat kamnay apam visich. Good day, everyone out there. My name is Jonathan Curry. It's good to see all of you. Um, this is our last class, our last session of this four-part Intro to O'odham language. And with some closing words before we get started with today's lessons, I wanted to say thank you to all of those community members who gave words of encouragement, who supported this project essentially, and sharing our language on a wider scale. Hopefully, to kind of reach out to all those community members and people who have an interest within our communities to pick up our language and learn more and incorporate it in their everyday life. And not only are these classes reaching our communities here in Salt River and communities, O'odham communities within Arizona, Southern Arizona, but also across the world. So thank you for attending, taking part, and encouraging this and supporting this type of work. This is just the beginning of many different projects where we'll incorporate as much as we can in regards to O'odham culture and history. And so, as far as a language class similar to this, I'm not sure if I'll entirely be doing one anytime soon. Possibly in the fall or winter, but definitely next year we'll do something. If not the same set of lessons, it's something new, and that's something that I really feel thankful in regards to this opportunity. Is it's definitely encouraged me to continue to grow and motivated me to continue to grow. So I appreciate um, that support. And so by next year, we'll definitely have more to delve into in terms of language I can help teach. And definitely, in the near future, keep an eye out for, of course, the spring and summer are starting. So we'll definitely be having we'll be focusing this time on getting our garden started, workshops and lectures coming up in regards to that. A lot of opportunities to harvest wild foods within our community and surrounding community here in the desert. And so those are on the books. So that's what will be coming up into the spring and summer. But I definitely will be working more on lectures in regards to history, archaeology work that I've been working in. But definitely it's going to be a busy season coming up with different workshops and projects I'm working on, but also papers I'm working on writing. So um, it's very busy. Keep an eye out. And of course, like I said before, originally when we started this class, it was supposed to be a song class, but it was easier for me to teach language. I didn't have the time essentially to create a new presentation in regards to songs. So of course we'll be doing song classes as much as possible as well. And so keep an eye out for all of that. And again, I thank you for your support. We thank you for your support. So I did want to go over, because we did talk a lot about introductory language. My name is, I'm from, all those things. And we're kind of getting into my parents' names are, my grandparents' names are. Today we'll be getting into my children, my grandchildren, where I work. But I did want to go over some common, what would I say, greetings. And so some common greetings that you'll hear here within the community. Um, People greeting each other. Um, this one's probably the most common. Shapkaich. Oh, got our dot under the S. SH sound. Shapkaich. And kaich literally means to speak or make a sound. And so when you say shapkaich, you're literally saying, what did you say? Or what do you say? And how that it translates into many different, essentially, um, relevant phrases in English. So like, what's up? What's going on? What do you say, buddy? So that means what's up, basically what's up, but it can be all common phrases we use in English. What's up? And oh, that's what. Okay, so we will be having some resources posted online. I gave the files to our PR coordinator, and some of the resources will be the Mathiot Dictionary, which is a two-part dictionary from the Thon O'odham Nation. Consensus, most thorough piece of language resource amongst O'odham teachers and speakers. A large amount of vocabulary. But there's also, which is essential to picking up language, there's example sentences for these particular pieces of vocabulary. And speakers and teachers have said, like, this is how you would really hear it if someone were speaking in regular sentences, conversation. So that's a great resource to have as you start to practice your vocabulary, practice that within sentence use. And then we have a language book called Shopgaich, 2007 UCLA linguistics class, of course from UCLA, with students and O'odham speakers, because we do as O'odham have a large O'odham community in the Los Angeles area, California. And so with that piece of resource, they delve deeply into Shopgaich, various English relevant phrases, and then other greetings, and they kind of break it down linguistically a lot, but they also give a lot of examples of greetings, and kind of it's a great thing to look into, great resource to look into. Can be very technical at some points, but definitely something to utilize as you deem necessary. Then we have the Willenbrink notes on Pima language that I mentioned a few classes ago, that will be in there. And then we have two children's books from the 1970s, 1960s, where the schools, one in the Thon O'odham Nation, and then one here in Salt River in the Lehigh community, the schools sent home cameras with the children, and they kind of took pictures of their everyday life, and then they took those photos and kind of created a story with them using O'odham language. So the Thon O'odham Nation, I believe, is in the Sanavir community, the WAP community. That one's in English, Spanish, and O'odhamite. And then the one that was created here in Lehigh is English and O'odhamite. But both O'odham language were written out by Dean Saxton, who of course created the Saxton and Saxton orthography and the red dictionary we talked about before. And so Shopgaich, what's up? And then we have Shapawa. Shapawa, which means what are you doing? Literally means what are you doing? So like what it do. And then we have Shapjuik. And chuik is a state of being, whether specified or unspecified. So literally, what it be like. Oh, sorry. What's up? I was about to write what it be like. Yeah. So another way of basically saying what's up. How are you, essentially? How are you? How are you? And we'll say that it's more appropriately translated as how are you? Shapjuik. And then we have one more how are you, which is Shapaimasma. Same thing. How are you? Shapaimasma. And then we have and so these would change if you were speaking to a group. So this is to one person. We have Sha question form P, second person you. But if this were a group, it would be Sha Chuik, Sha Kaich. But then even if you were talking to yourself, it would be N with the tilde, Ein. So it would be Shankaich. What did I say? So, but base word sha question form, and then the following letter usually implies which person form you're speaking. And so this is directly to a person or to a singular person, and then multiple, like all of you, would be sham, shamkaich. But an unspecified, like they, them, her, would be sha, I guess you could say. And so either would work, honestly, for a group, I believe. But these are the two forms of how you would say, how are you? And then we have, of course, we have what we use every day here in the community, skutash, skutash, which means good day. Skug meaning good, tash as in day, or also could mean sun. So good day. And then we have skutamjuk, which means good afternoon. Oh, what am I doing? Good afternoon. And so skug, good, tam meaning on top or above. And juk, although similar to the word for rain, which is juk, this particular word has a different definition, although they look the same or sound the same. Juk meaning the position of the sun or the person's relation to the sun. So the sun, what you're saying here is the sun is at its very peak or above you. So it could be any point in the afternoon. And then I've seen this one kind of written various different ways. It'd be great for you to reach out to an elder and see, how they would say, kind of like a late afternoon, skugi moijuk. So between noon and the evening. Skug good, imoy. Moy means many or more, and then juk, so still more daylight after that midday time, afternoon. And then we have, finally, skug hudenik, and that means good evening. And so skug good, hudenik. Hut, root word, means to lower something or something to lower down or let go. So when you say hudenik, oh, sorry, I forgot that. I think there's a tilde there, if I'm not mistaken. Hudenik, in relation to our day, is when that sun goes down, starts to set, and then becomes evening, hudenik. And then there's one more word for night, which would be chuhuk. That would be complete nighttime. But it's more appropriate. I've heard it more appropriately as far as greetings. Skukhudinik, mentioned the evening. So that's as the sun starts to go down, all the way till it's down and into the evening. Skukhudinik. And so, erase that. Hutinik. And so skukhudinik. And those are the most common greetings. And like my intro today, skutash vlisichamwi. Skatash, good day. Vlisich means all, vs or vlisich, and then we means to go towards something. And so to all of you, good day to all of you. And then I said, what else did I say? And then we talked about sapantat kamnyay, and then I said apam vlisich, apam meaning all of you, multiple, plural you, and then vlisich again. All of you, literally all of you. So it's good to see all of you. And so I just wanted to go over these because this is just common greetings. And of course, there'll be various ways to say these, and a lot of elders say that when you say skukdash, or I guess first language speakers will say when you say skukdash, when you say skukdamjuk, when you say skukhudinik, that's an English. Well, you're taking O'odham and translating it into English. It's not a common traditional greeting. And so nonetheless, still appropriate to use in today's world. But they will say shapgaich, shapaichuik, shapai masma. That's how people would greet each other. And interestingly enough, they would also greet each other with their emic term. And so we talked about emic last time, and that's a lot of what we'll be talking about today. So based on your specific relations, you would say shapawa and sis. Good day, my older sibling. And so last week we were talking about my parents. Is that correct? My grandparents. And so one term I wanted to go over before we get too far into ending that lesson and today's lesson is the term bat. And so if you look at the worksheet, you can see within various examples, there's the term bat after emic term. And so you see the my parents section, an og bat. You look at the grandparents, an vosk bat. And when we say bat after someone's name or the emic term, that implies that that person is no longer with us. They've passed on, they're deceased. And so this reflects how in O'odham worldview, it's inappropriate to plainly say someone's died, to essentially mention their name after a certain period of time that they've died. This is the respectful way to mention this person, whether it be by their emic term or name, and let everybody, whoever you're speaking to, that they're no longer with us, they've passed on. And so an English equivalent would be my late grandfather. They're no longer with us. And so what traditionally what O'odham would say when someone passes away, they would say siard we. And so siard is the east, or like when we say skuk siardik, good morning. Oh, that's one I forgot, skuk siardik. But east or the sunrise, the morning. And when they say we again, that means to go towards. And so they've gone to the east. And this is reflective of O'odham worldview, and particularly O'odham worldview of the afterlife, or O'odham view of the afterlife, is that our spirits, when we pass, go to the east. And so they say siard we. They've gone to the east. That means they've passed on. They're no longer with us. And so that is essentially our afterlife, is there with the sun to the east. And then further enforcing that belief, there will say that then we become one with the sun, or we follow the sun. There's a number of songs that reflect that sentiment, and that we go to the east, and then we follow the sun, and we become a one with the sun. And this is reflective of our traditional religious belief, essentially of being sun worshippers as a traditional religious form, is that the sun was is an important aspect of our life in every traditional everyday life, whether it be today or in the past. And so they say today, in the past, but also today, is that when you pray, when you give prayers for the people, you greet the day, you greet the sun, you give your prayers. And that's what the belief is that this, you give it to the sun and the creator and all those things, you acknowledge all these things. So this is how we say that they've passed on. And so whether it is your father, your mother, your grandparent in these lessons that is no longer with us, you would put but after their name. And that's, again, the respectful way to let the people know that you're speaking to, that they're no longer with us. And so one thing I didn't get to was when we say parents, there's various ways I've seen written when we mention parents. So whether that's your mom and your dad, one way that I wrote here was judge, but I've also seen it as gut, as your parents. You may see that in various ways. And so last week we went over all the various terms in regards to your grandparents. So we have your paternal grandparents, vosk, or the term of endearment would be voski, gok, and the term of endearment would be gagaa. And then we have your maternal grandparents, which would be bap, which would be your grandfather, your maternal grandfather. Term of endearment for that would be babaa. And then we have your maternal grandmother, huot, or term of endearment would be roro'o. And so what these following questions are asking is, what's the name of your grandparent? And it would be that specific term. And then you'll have plural, what's the names of your mother's parents? And I have judge. And on the other side, it would be og, judge. But again, there can also be the term gut for parents. So again, based on your dialect, speak with your elder to see what would be best for your family, your community. And so moving on to my children's the next lesson. And so next we have someone asking you, how many children do you have? And so some new vocabulary here. We have hukya, which means how many. Hukya. And then we have the term for children. For a man or a father, he would call his children one child aridak, and then multiple would be aaridak. Okay? And so this is question form. How many children do you have? And you're speaking to a male. Okay? So hukya or hukya, how many? Api aaridak. And so how many, as in you, second person, essentially do you, iaridak, children. So how many children do you have? And then we have another term, arika, and one resource I had said this was a general term, whether it be for the mother or the father. Another resource said that arika is for a mother to only use. So again, reach out to an elder or someone with a language speaker within your community to see if this will be appropriate to say to a father. For sure, it's appropriate to say to a mother. But I know for sure, speaking with elders, aridak is what a father would call his child, and plural aridak would be multiple children. And so, in terms of if we were to ask directly a mother this question, the term for that would be mamat. Mamat is plural, singular would be mat. And so this is what a mother would call their child, mat, or children, mamat. So same question, but just plugging in mamat, hukya up mamat, hukya up mamat. How many children do you have? And you're asking this to a mother. a woman. And so again, these are emic terms based on gender, essentially, but also relationship-wise. And so to answer this question, say if you were to say, I only have one child, I have two examples here, and these are just various ways to say the same thing. And that's kind of the point of these lessons, is like to just incorporate as much language as we can. Some of these phrases aren't exactly how you would hear them just speaking regularly. But the point is to incorporate as much language as we can so that you're familiar with these terms within whatever conversations or examples that may come up. And so these two phrases mean I only have one child. And so we have man ay humako aridak. Man ay humako aridak. And this is the male example, the father. Man, first person. I, meaning only. Humako, one. Aridak, child, my child. So I only have one child. Now, same sentence translation, but kind of using different vocabulary, but communicating the same thing, is though, first person. Vai, meaning only. Humako, huk an aridak. So vai humako, huk an aridak. So vai humako, huk an aridak. And so these two words are the same, vai and I. But when there's, and this is little kind of getting into the weeds of grammar, but when there is a vowel, it's vai. When it's a consonant, it's I. And so both meaning only. Okay? And so an interesting piece of grammar in terms of O'odham language is how the vowel can change essentially the vocabulary you're using, but also within O'odham there's such thing as vowel symmetry. And so some sounds of words would change because of the vowel that's in front of it, and they'll sound more closer to that vowel. And so as you look into the Matthew dictionary that we'll have posted up, you'll see lots of examples of vowel symmetry within the examples of sentences of these vocabulary examples. And what you'll see is you'll have the how it would be said, and then in brackets with kind of like a lesser than, greater than symbol, you'll have the I guess plain or technical vocabulary. So like, what's one example I could think of? Essentially like O could be ah when spoken if the vowel is before is a ah sound. And so you'll have that O there in brackets, but in this regular spoken section, you'll have ah. And so it will kind of separate them to show you that this is what's really being said, but because of vowel symmetry, this is how it's said here in this sentence. And so these can all be changed. Aridat can be changed to mat if you're talking to a mother or a woman. So same thing. Man ay humako mat. I only have one child. Tovai humako huk an mat. I only have one child. And this will be a mother speaking, a woman. Okay? And so lastly, we have how many children you have. So if you were to say I have so many number of children, it would be said like this. And we'll say gawk for two. Just to keep it simple. And you're saying I have two children. So these two examples of sentences translate to the same thing. I have two children. So we have Mangok aaridak. Togak hook an aaridak. Okay? And so based on how many children you have, you can say that number. So humako, 1, gok, 2, vike, 3, gik would be 4, hutas, 5, chuot would be 6, vufkam, 7, gigik, 8, humuchkam, 9, and vustamum, 10. And so if you have children, these 10 children these days, you are superhuman. and so and so again, if you're talking to a mother, you can change all of this out for mamat, for multiple children. So mangok, mamat. I have 2 children. Togok, hook, and mamat. I have 2 children. Okay. And so talking about how much time we got. Okay, making good time here. So next, we'll just skip to the next lesson, which will be how many siblings you have. And then following that, we'll do grandchildren. And so same vocabulary, but basically plugging in the vocabulary for an immediate sibling. So ha'ukya or hukya api vupanak. And this is plural vupanak for an immediate sibling, just a general term for a sibling. The singular would be vuanak. So that's your brother or your sister. That's just a general term. And like I mentioned I think it was last class, we have Sis, your older sibling, or Sikor, your younger sibling. But there's also, depending on your dialect, various similar terms that would be saying the same thing, an older and younger sibling. So like Shupich would be another one. And so, but generally, just generally speaking, you're not saying they're older or younger than you, you're just saying your brother or your sister. Vuanak would be singular, Vupanak would be plural. So, Hukyapi Vupanak. How many siblings do you have? And so, again, same vocabulary. And you could just fill out the worksheet, kind of the same as before, but all you're putting in as far as new vocabulary is sibling. Yeah.
We have a lot of people watching right now. You want to make a reminder that access the worksheets on the website?
Okay. So it's recommended that I let everybody know that these worksheets from all the lessons past to this one are available on the Salt River Schools website. And the way you can access them is through announcements. You'll see this class, but in the future, it will be in past announcements. Look for this class, and it'll give you a direct link to all the lessons and resource material that we are mentioning within these classes. But all of these lessons have an accompanying worksheet, and I hope. Okay, so our resources will be going up now that we have addition to these classes, and these are just for your future use, just resources for you to use as you grow And there's a lot more. I highly recommend utilizing the O'odham language phrase books and language books that the school has on their website, Salt River Schools, but also that CRD has, the Cultural Resources Department of Salt River has. I have a lot of past phrase books, language books from the Cultural Resources Department, but they do have like a copyright or approval on them, so I wasn't able to put those out for public use. All of the stuff that I'm giving here, they don't have any sort of copyright that I know of, and I got them from sources, essentially library sources where they're already online anyways. That's how I got them. So one great source is the Thon O'odham Community College Library. They have a website where I got the Matthew Dictionary on there, from there, and then they have just various articles, YouTube links, all kinds of just interesting stuff in regards to just general O'odham culture and language. And so I hope that in these lessons and in the past lessons I did cover everything, but particularly with these type of lessons that I've been going through, it's all the same stuff. It's just new vocabulary that we're putting in, but it's still the same phrase. And so again, man ay humako vunak. I only have one sibling, and so if you were to say the same phrase, just in a different way, would be Tawai humako hukan vunak vunak. Tawai humako hukan vunak. I only have one sibling. And again, I meaning only, and vai meaning the same thing. Hamako one, and vunak, my sibling. And so these sets of lessons get a little more complicated in as far as like there's more examples we could use. Um, and so when you talk about your siblings, like I said, you could either use the imic term, your older or younger sibling, or you can also uh, use something like this. Man ay hamako George vunak. I only have one brother. Excuse me. I only have one brother because a George is like a man. And so now if you were to say oof, now you would imply one sister because a oof is a woman. Oh, breathe die. And my I's and my V's always look the same. Or my U's and my V's always look the same. So you get a hard, sharp oof. So man ay humako oof vanak. I only have one sister. Oof vanak. That's one way you can differentiate if it's a brother or a sister to somebody. And so, again, you could use the same sentence here by just putting in George vanak or Oof vanak. Tawai hamako hukan George vanak. Tawai hamako hukan Oof vanak. I only have one brother or sister. Okay. And so same thing that we did before, we would just plug in a number. And make the accompanying vocabulary plural. Mongok vupanak. I have two siblings. And then the other example was Togok huk and vupanak. Same thing. I have two siblings. Now, if you wanted to get really technical, you can give them, like I say, you have brothers and sisters. You could give, though we'll give you that example as well of sentence use. And again, you just make this vocabulary that we're adding plural in this instance. Okay, let me try to rewrite that. It kind of looks a little smeared. Okay, and so this one you're saying, man bike church vupanak chahuk gok oof vupanak. I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters. Is that right? Sisters. Okay. And so, man vaik church vupanak chahuk gok oof vupanak. I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters. That would be the English translation. Depending on your own situation, you can plug in what's appropriate for you. And so, the other example is the same translation. So, Tavaik huk church and vupanak chahuk gok uuf and vupanak. You would just make, oh, I forgot the plural here. So, uuf is singular and uuf is plural. Gok uuf, sorry about that. So, man vaik church vupanak chahuk gok uuf vupanak. Uuf is plural for women. And then Tavaik huk church vupanak chahuk gok uuf and vupanak. And then this next one I have a lot of notes for because we start to get really deep into emic and trying to keep track of our maternal grandparents. And so this can get a little hairy. And so with this one, this would be someone asking essentially a grandparent if they have any grandchildren. And depending on if it's your daughter's children or your son's children, the term would be different for what you reply or call them. And this is essentially can be answered with a yes or a no. So do you have any grandchildren? Nap gewolks mat chahuk bab mat. Do you have any grandchildren? And so with these terms, volpsmat and babmat, this implies that you're talking to a grandfather. because a vosk would be what you call your paternal grandfather, and a ba or baba'a would be what you call your maternal grandfather. Excuse me, your maternal grandfather. And so you're asking this grandfather, do you have grandchildren? And depending if they're from his daughter or his son, that would be the term. These would be the terms you call them. So this would be his son's children, and this would be his daughter's children. So you're just generally asking him, do you have any paternal grandchildren or maternal grandchildren? And then same set of vocabulary again. Hukya. And again, this is question form. So when someone asks, do you have any grandchildren? You could say ha'o, which means yes, or ho'o, depending on your dialect, means yes. And then you could say for no, or pia for no. And so means no. And then this is asking how many grandchildren do you have? So hukya up e volps mat chahuk bab mat. How many grandchildren do you have? Because they aren't sure if you have maternal or paternal grandchildren or both. And so it's just a general question. You mentioned them both. And as far as asking a grandmother, what they would say instead of volpsmat would be gakmat for a paternal grandchild, and for or grandchildren, and then for a maternal grandchildren you'd say moms. Okay, and so these are all plural forms. And so I'll write the singular forms down for these. So for I should write it on this side. Might be easier for you to see. So for singular, so I'll write the singular form down. For volpsmat would be volsmat. And then for babmat, it'd be ba'amat. Ba'amat. And then singular form of gakmat would be ga'amat. And then singular form of mons would be mos. So we have volsmat, ba'amat, ga'amat, mos. Volsmat, ba'amat, ga'amat, and mos. And so this is the paternal grandchild, maternal grandchild for a male, a grandfather. And then we have the paternal grandchild and maternal grandchild for a grandmother, for a woman. So, and then we have their plural equivalents up in the examples. Grandfather. And then grandmother. So again, this is very kind of introductory to EMIC, as it gets extremely complicated, even more complicated from this point on. And so, again, you can put in these examples for these questions. This would be for a grandfather, but then for a grandmother, you could put in kakmat or moms for these questions here. And then we'll give the example of a reply. So, man ay humako vos mat. I only have one paternal grandchild. And you could put in any of these terms depending on if you're a male or female based on your relation. Okay? And then when you have multiple grandchildren, on both sides, or your son and your daughter, or sons and daughters, so here we'll say you have Gawk again. We'll do Gawk and Vike. Just keep it simple. So to Gawk hukan Volks mat, chahuk Vike Bab mat. So I have 2 paternal grandchildren and 3 maternal grandchildren. So 2 grandchildren from my son and 3 grandchildren from my daughter. And then that can be exchanged for the plural form of the grandmother, Gakmat, and Moms. Okay? And you can use all those other examples from the other lessons as other ways to say it. So we had Tovai Humako Bosmat. I only have one child. Okay? And then lastly, before we close up, we'll get to this one. And I cut these lessons a little short. We had one more after this, but I figured this is about as far as we'd be able to get. But there's definitely a lot more to talk about, a lot more to learn. So I encourage you all to keep it up, keep your motivation high, keep your why in your mind while you're doing this. And so someone asks you, this should look familiar, Baphasko Chikpan, which means where do you work? Chikpan means to work. So Bap as in where you, Ba is the question form where, the P implies second person you, Hasko an unspecified location. So the person who's asking the question is saying, I don't know. I don't know where you work. Where do you work? Where do you work this place I'm not sure of? So I'm asking you. And your reply would be, or one of your replies could be, Manchikpan Amai, and we'll say you work at the casino. And we'll put in instead of just saying casino, we'll utilize some O'odham language for these places. I work over there. So manchikpan amai varahoki am. I work over there at the casino. And so, say we're here in Salt River and you say this, you could be implying that you work at the casino here in the community, but also this could imply that you work off community at another reservations casino. And so, other examples of places within our communities that people may work, and you can use English, that's fine, but I like to incorporate as much language as we can. So we have Charihi Haki, which is a police station. And then we have Masjamakut, which is a school. And so you can put any of those within these spaces. And if you were to say, like, I work here at the school, since we're at a school now, you would say, Masjamakut. So Manchikpan iya Masjamakut. I work here at the school. And so iya means here, right here. But then there's also iya, which means like, ah, man, ah, ah, something happened where you're just like, ah. Anyway, so Manchikpan iya Masjamakut. I work here at the school. Okay. Yeah. I can't stand it, or something, God, you just spilled your whole cup, didn't you? Said to my babies. You just gotta tip over the whole bowl, make me clean it up. God. Yeah. Okay, so then we have the example. So we talked about where you work, but let's say you go to school. Maybe you're a young person, maybe you're an older person. It's never too late. School's forever. It'll always be around. But always work to better your life, I say, no matter what it looks like. This is one way to say, where do you go to school? But Pasco, masjam. Masjam literally means to learn. So you're saying, where do you learn? Now you could also say masjamakut. Masjamakut for what school? What school do you go to? Okay? But masjam, of course, masjam within masjamakut is the root word to learn. So when you say masjamakut, that's the learning place. When you put the suffix kut at the end of something, kut, that implies it's a tool or that you use it. So like our gourd rattles, we call them shav kut. And shav means to make an echoing or rattling sound. So you're saying that tool that rattles or that echoes, essentially. All the words that have a kut at the end, it's implying it's something of use or a tool. So where do you go and learn? And then you can say, so I'll say, since we have a college here within our community, Scottsdale Community College, home of the artichokes, I'll say iya. And I'll just say SEC because I ain't gonna write the whole thing, but masjam iya SEC, or masjam iya Scottsdale Community College. Wow, that's a mouthful. And so, again, another way to say here, same thing, SEC. Iya anan masjam SEC. meaning I go to school here at SCC or Scottsdale Community College. Okay, now let's say you go to school outside of the community, away from you, away from the speaker. The example we have here is man and masjam amai. Um, and we'll say ASU. You could really put any place there because it's away from the speaker. That's what amai implies, away from the speaker. So man and masjam amai, ASU. I go to school at ASU, or I learn at ASU, essentially is what you're saying. Okay? And one thing I forgot to put here was as far as the places. So I wrote it in the example, but I erased it. But we have Vadahoki for a casino. And when you say Vadaho, that means to play cards. So you're saying the house of cards, the house of where you go and play cards, the place where you go and play cards. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was. Mm-hmm.
Is that any level of school?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, um, yeah. Mm-hmm. So you could say Ankh Akimar Hamash Jamakut. So Salt Rivers schools. And Ha meaning theirs, belonging to them, or multiple, theirs, Ha. So literally Salt Rivers, this community's school. Okay. And it works perfectly because all of our schools are collectively one entity. Yeah. Okay. And so I'm pretty sure I covered everything within these. I really hope that everyone enjoyed these lessons and classes. I hope that you took away something, that you learned more than you did than when you came in. Um, speaking to people within the community, non-speakers and speakers, elders, people here in the school. Like I said, they definitely shared some appreciation and encouragement, so I appreciate that. It definitely helps motivate me. But I want to also make it clear that, myself, I didn't grow up learning the language. I didn't grow up participating in the culture. Um, the last speaker in our family was my great grandfather, and he passed away when I was about 13, 14. And so I never really got that time to get to know him and speak to him. But because he was the last speaker of our family, I had to go out once I became an adult and um, search out people to learn from. And it's something that I thoroughly enjoy. And it's definitely a passion that I've picked up, or at this point, a purpose that I've put myself on. And so learning all these various things, songs, stories of creation, language, uh, archaeology, history. Um, it's not, like I said, it's not something that I've always known. It's something that I've just barely began learning, maybe max 8 years ago. So I have to make it known or clear that, I'm very blessed that my life allowed me to do that. That, I was able to take that amount of time and put it into these things and focus purely on them. And as life went on, these skills or these things that I learned, they serve a greater purpose within our communities. And so I'm extremely blessed for that. And I've spoken to people and elders, and they said, well, if you learned in such amount of time, then maybe I could too. Some elders say, I always thought it was too late for me. It's never too late. So always keep that in mind, that you should always be a learner in your life, no matter what it may be, whether it be culture or not. Is always work to positively, change or incorporate positivity in your life. For me, that looks like language. That look like our culture. That's what keeps me happy. That's what keeps me in a positive space and realm, and mentally as well. So I encourage you, to keep pushing, keep learning. It isn't easy, but that's the challenge of it. That's the joy of it. Is find joy in the challenge. Find joy in the learning. The end isn't really the purpose, or there is no really end goal. It's the joy of learning. Learn to love that. So thank you everybody again, and we'll see you in the future sometime.